Hello YouTube, it's me again, and I've finally gotten around to bringing you a second video in my Dollar Tree book review series. So I've got 5 books here to show you, if I can get them all in one hand. 5 of them. They are all, what do you call it, like sci-fi, paranormal, fantasy kind of things. Some of them are romance, some of them aren't. But I will get into that in just a few minutes. I think we'll start with Shadow's Claim. This is from a series called The Dacians. It is a paranormal romance. It is basically like vampires and sorcerers and demons even. So the basic premise of this is that there is a young sorceress. Let's see, where is she? Well, anyway, the heroine is a lady called Bettina. She is a sorceress, and she is under the care of 2 guardians. One is the leader of the demons. The other is a sorceress, the leader of the sorcerers. So basically they want the best match for her, so they set up this tournament, this death tournament, and the winner of this death tournament gets to marry her, and let's see, yep, basically that's who her husband-to-be is going to be. But in the process, this vampire comes and finds her and is basically blooded by her, which is essentially their version of a life mate or soulmate anyway. So he wasn't going to enter this competition, but now he does because he wants the woman. There's a lot of other stuff that happens as well, because she's basically in love with her best friends, or thinks she is, who is another demon. But I really like this book. In fact, I read it in like 3 days, and it's been forever since I read a book in 3 days. So it's definitely a paranormal romance. Oh, there's werewolves, I think, as well. And it's got that very historic thing of, you know, battle to the death and win the maiden's hand, and all that fun stuff in there. And I haven't read anything like that in a while, so I guess that's why I devoured this one. So yeah, I like this book. Yes, like I said, I read it in 3 days, which is not something I do very often. So hey, if you can find this one again, it's called Shadow's Claim by Kresley Cole. I highly recommend it. Alright, so the next book we're going on to is a different book, even though its name is similar. It is Shadow's Curse by Alex Egan. Okay, this is another kind of supernatural romance, but there's a lot of other stuff going on here. The main character in this one is a necromancer, and she runs into a cursed werewolf, and they basically fight their attraction to each other. And that's kind of how it goes. There's also some other stuff going on, and it does have a sequel and another book written by her called Demon's Curse. The romance actually kind of takes a back seat to the rest of the stuff going on in here, which is basically the 2 are on the run from people who want to kill them and use their powers for evil. The idea behind this series is that there's 3 cursed werewolves, and there's a book that follows each of their journeys, and this is, I believe, just like the second one, because there is a excerpt from the sequel in the back of this one, which I didn't read because I don't know if I was going to get the second one. I mean, this is okay. I've known romance authors to do this kind of thing periodically, like there's like a band of brothers, and you get a book for each brother, how they each find romance and escape death, and that's kind of how this works. Like I said, it's okay. It's worth a read if you like that supernatural kind of stuff. But it was not an instant favorite like the last one I read. So there you go. That's how that one went. I do have book reviews for all these guys on my website, so I'll try to remember to link all that stuff down below for you guys. But here's one that is not a supernatural romance. This is more of a comment on society, but it's still very interesting to read. This is L.E. Modesset Jr., and this is a book called Arms Commander. This, I think, is like the 11th in this series, but it doesn't show it. I mean, it's a standalone book. It references certain things that happen in the other books, so you're kind of up to speed with how that works. But in general, this is a book about women for women. It addresses certain things. The majority of the book is politics, battle strategies, and how they use logic and rationale to get through all the problems. And it also focuses on society's view of women. While this was like a book full of a series of battles, it didn't skip from battle to battle. There was stuff in between it that made the story work. So just the stuff in between wasn't just filler until you got to the next battle. Oh, this is actually the 16th book, sorry. And like I said, they did very well with the series. It's not one of those things where you finish the book and you feel like the book isn't finished. But basically, this is a book about strong women and men sort of taking them for granted, and how that is their mistake for doing so. So it's a book full of very strong women, and it was wonderful to read a book about strong women. So I really liked it for that, and I think any woman, anybody who identifies as a woman, should get their hands on one of these books, especially this one, because I really like this one. Well, it's the only one I've read, but am going to see if I can find some more of these, because I really liked the women's liberation thing for it. So there you go. The next two, let's see, what's the next one we should do? Alright, let's do The Sea They Mistress by Elizabeth Bear. This one's kind of a weird one, because the people in it are actually like demigods. And this is, I believe, the third book in this series, but it's also kind of one of those standalone ones. I believe the books before that explain how they got up to this point in this book. There are some words that were probably better explained in the previous books, and you kind of just had to guess at what their meanings were in this book. I was able to kind of figure it out after getting through the book as to what they were referencing by these words. There are also, these words explain some concepts that the author kind of just glossed over because they were explained in different books. The basic overall story was the fate of a world landing in the hands of gods and angels. Those angels having all too human weaknesses because they were once human. And there's also anthropomorphic animals, which is kind of weird. But they show up and they explain that they have tails and fur and all this other stuff. It was okay. I mean, I like the story and all that. But it was a little hard to follow because, like I said, there were concepts and characters that weren't exactly explained. There's also gods and goddesses and demigods and things of that nature, and ancient evils, and just kind of lots of stuff going on in this book, and I really wasn't sure how to take it. If you wanted to have a go for it, go. But I think this is one where if you read the first two books, you would understand this one a lot better. That's kind of the thing is about books and series that I don't like, is that you have to read the series in order to understand what's going on in a book in the middle of the series. But anyway, the last book I have in my hand is called Pay Me in Flesh And this is also part of a series, but this is the first book in the series. This is the Mallory Kane Zombie Outlaw series by Kay Bennett here. So yeah, so the main character is a zombie lawyer, which is an interesting character for a book. Kay Bennett is a pen name of James Scott Bell, who is a lawyer. This is a paranormal legal thriller. The lawyer bit that comes into this book reads a bit like a lighthearted John Grisham at times. But the paranormal stuff in it just kind of weird. So like I said, the main character is a zombie lawyer. That's kind of obvious from the name of the book and the name of the series. So there's no, I mean, when you get into the book, there's no shock that there's zombies around and people that would hate them and want them dead forever. I mean, not just like the undead. There's some parts that are unrealistic, though. I didn't care for the ending. It was abrupt. It washed over all the major plot lines. Didn't really answer any of the big questions posed at the beginning of the book. And I'm guessing this is a trilogy, and I do like the main character, but I don't like, books that end by not ending. The book also uses the main character is so beautiful that everybody wants her. And I just don't like that concept in a book. I mean, it's kind of degrading to women in a way. Yeah, so not a favorite. Kind of interesting to read. I mean, they could have gone several directions with this book, and it could have been really interesting with a zombie as a main character, but I just don't think it played out well. So anyway, those are 5 more Dollar Tree book reviews. I will link the other one I did down below, as well as the blog post where I reviewed each of these guys individually. And with that, I will say thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!